Welcome to today's Farm Life. I'm Doug Cunningham. As we inch ever so close to the warmer temperatures, we start thinking about greasing the planter. We start thinking about doing the whole process all over again. But there's some things this year that I think we need to be aware of. Input costs. Everybody says input costs. What is that? Well, it's chemicals to seed, to how you treat your ground, what you do with your ground. Left over from last year, we're talking with Berg, the agronomy sales representative at CHS Farmers Alliance. She brings up something called a hangover from last year, and that's interesting. We talked about a number of things. We started out with the fact that grain prices are up, so obviously input prices are going to be up as well.
So it's just a matter of fact. So grain prices are up. Obviously, grain prices drive a lot of things in the agriculture industry. So fertilizer has gone up. And you guys know this, so that's one aspect to keep in mind. There's also some guys kind of considering whether or not to break up some winter wheat. I've talked to a few guys that they're not afraid to break up their winter wheat to plant some soybeans, just to, try to get the most out of the land that they can. Two, on that, the fact that grain prices are up, now might be a great opportunity to look at trying new products, something that's going to add, some ROI to your operation. So it's a great time to try some of those things out.
According to Berg, last year was challenging in many ways, but dealing with the wet conditions early in the year, then a very dry fall, has left producers with a bit of a hangover as we start this year.
So 2019 hangover. So obviously 2019 was a very wet year, so we're dealing with a lot of pushback from that, complications from that from year to year, whether it's insects, more insects that are showing up in your fields, whether it's more diseases showing up in your fields from them being wet, the fact of still not being able to plant into that ground, so it goes another year with nothing there, which brings us to fallow syndrome, dealing with that in corn, so nutrient deficiencies, things like that.
Berg didn't believe the pandemic has caused any supply problems, but did say that we need to continue to think about how things work. They're a bit different as we move forward into spring.
Not so much with the pandemic going on. Luckily, we are an essential workforce right now, so we have to work and continue to do our job. And obviously, if nothing gets planted in the ground, we can't get food to tables for people to eat. So nothing's really changed necessarily, like supply-wise. We haven't had a big issue because of that. The only changes is just kind of, as agronomists going out talking with growers, just being respectful to, maybe call ahead or whatever, let them know you're coming out, and just double check that it is safe to do so to come out and visit with them.
Berg said every spring there are various issues to deal with up through the supply chain, but she advises producers to sit down and talk with her agronomist right now. That could ward off any unexpected problems that may arise a little bit later.
I guess kind of from what I've been told too, there are possible shortages going to be happening. So make sure you're talking with your local agronomist, your local outfit, wherever you get your chemicals, just to make sure that they have what they need in supply, and talk to them whether you should be buying it now or whether it's going to affect you versus buying it in season.
Now, with the long list of chemicals at our disposal and their individual application requirements, Berg did suggest that you read and follow the directions very, very closely, because some things may have changed since last year.
Yes, so obviously with soybean, the whole thing with soybean traits, whether you're doing Enlist or whether you're doing Extend, some of this technology, obviously you have quite a few application requirements, rules and regulations that they have to follow. So one thing to keep in mind too is making sure that we are following those requirements, so that way we aren't misusing the chemicals, causing us to lose the technology and not be able to use it. For those growers that maybe weren't able to take part in trainings this year or just need a refresher, a great place that they can go to find those would be to their websites, whether it's enlist.com for any 2,4-D products or extendedmaxapplicationrequirements.com for any dicamba products.
Talking with Berg, the CHS Farmers Alliance agronomy sales representative, talking about chemicals, talking about hangover from last year, wet turned to dry, caused some hangover for this year, how we treat some ground, maybe a little bit different. As she suggested, now is a great time to talk with your agronomist and get some of those questions answered. It's all the same, but it's different. So yeah, there's the concept we have to deal with. As always, feel good about what you do today, because what you do today is very important. Until next time, I'm Doug Cunningham.